Hello, welcome to this new module on getting started with iOS. I hope in the previous module you have set it up your environment and you're ready to hack into applications. So in this module, first of all, we are going to learn about iOS applications. So what exactly are iOS applications? iOS applications are nothing but a zipped file under the extension .ipa. So these are nothing but just a compilation of all the assets, all the code, whatever it is written inside a format, a zipped format called as .ipa. So just like we have .apk for Android based applications, similarly for IP applications, we have .ipa. iOS applications are a completed application ready to install, and this application, when it's ready to install, it is called as a bundle. Now, whenever you decompress an IPA, you'd be having something called as name.app. Okay, we are going to see this in practical in a couple of minutes, but you would be having something called as name.app. And inside this name.app, you would be having certain important files. There are a list of all the different files. Now, these different files contains the assets. When I say assets basically means the images used inside the application, the videos used inside the application, the links used inside the application. All of these are called as assets. The source code of the application and other features or other code signatures. So some of the very common folders or files which can be found inside an application is listed down over here. Let's go through them one by one. The first one is the info.plist file. Now info.plist file is specific application components. Inside the info.plist file, you represent that which iOS device the application should run, whether the iOS device should be having a minimum operating system version. So for example, let's say you want your application not to run on iOS 14 and lower. You can define that inside info.plist. You want your iOS application to have the permission of camera. You can define that inside info.plist. You want your application to get the location every now and then, whether the application is running or not running. You want the location to be constantly given to your application. You can define that inside info.plist. So info.plist is specific, it is specific permissions defined to your application components. Secondly, you have the code signature. The code signature is a plist file with all signature over all files in the bundle. Okay, so it's a plist file with signatures all inside the bundle. You have assets.car. Assets.car is basically zip files that contains assets. So these are zipped assets. Assets include your images, videos, source codes, etc. You have frameworks. Frameworks are basically a folder containing the framework files. Frameworks are something like, let's say you have imported a calculator module, that can be a framework. Okay, you have imported, let's say, an a module which deals with SQLite databases, that can be a framework, etc. So these are framework files. These the frameworks folder contains this frameworks files. You have your core data. Now this is where your application's permanent data is going to be saved for offline usage. Okay, so this is your cache data or a temporary data wherein your application's temporary data is going to save. So let's say you have copied something from your application. Okay, now where is this copied thing going to save? It's going to get saved inside core data. And then finally you have pkg info, which is an alternate way to specify the type and creator codes of your application or bundle. Okay, so moving forward, what we are going to do is, it's the demo time and we are going to download an application, and I'm going to show you, or I'm going to walk you through all the different steps which you have to do in order to view these files. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a application called as DVIA. Okay, sorry, it's not Diva. It's DVIA. Diva is for Android. We have something called as DVIA, which stands for Damn Vulnerable iOS Application. Okay, you can just search DVIA GitHub, and the very first link from Pratik147, you'll be finding it. DVIA is basically a damn vulnerable iOS application, and it is written in Swift language. Its main goal is to provide platform to mobile security enthusiasts or professionals to test their iOS penetration testing skills. Okay, so it's a predefined vulnerable application wherein your iOS testing skills are going to be performed. Now there are certain vulnerabilities with which DVIA comes up with. One of them is jailbreak detection, excessive permissions, runtime manipulation, anti-hooking debugging, binary protection, touch face ID bypass, phishing, etc. There are 15 of all those different vulnerabilities. We have a particular section wherein I have gone through all of these vulnerabilities. You can find it in the code section below. So if you're stuck anywhere with DVIA and you want a walkthrough of it, I've given a detailed walkthrough of each and every vulnerability which is present over here. Okay, so the best way to download DVIA, what Pratik147 has done for us is he has created a swift.ipa file already. You can just click on it and click on download, and it's going to start the download for us. Okay, so we need to wait for some 5-6 seconds and so that it gets downloaded, and I'll just move this forward. Okay, so once it gets downloaded, what you can do is you can right click, open with, and you have to use a software called as the unarchiver. Okay, I have already downloaded this. You can download it. So there will be something called as the unarchiver. You can open it, and what the unarchiver is going to do is it's going to extract for you. Okay, it's going to extract for you. Now, once you extract it, there would be a default folder which would be created called as payload. Now, you have to remember this every time you extract an IPA file, a payload folder is always going to be generated for you. Okay, so every time you extract an IPA file, a payload folder is generated, and inside this payload folder, you would be having your DVIA application. Okay, and you have to right click it and click on show package contents. Now, these are all the different files which we were talking about in the presentation. Okay, so these are all the different slides. So let me just go back to the presentation, and you can see that the first file which we talked about was info.plist, and yes, info.plist, which was specific application components. Secondly was code signature. So you can see there's no code signature over here. Why? Because we haven't yet installed this application onto our devices. So code signature contains signed IPF files or signature of those IPF files. Now, when I say signed, basically means that, so let's say you are a developer, you created an application, you sign that application. When you sign the application, you say that now this application will be hosted onto the iOS store and you can install it. Okay, so signing of that application is called as signing. Since we haven't signed this application, this is just a raw IPA file, we do not have the code signature. Okay, but we definitely do have the assets.car, which is in some format. Okay, some unreadable format. We have the frameworks folder. So let me just quickly find the frameworks folder, and as you can see, this is the frameworks folder. You can see there are all different kinds of frameworks which are being used. You can see Flurry iOS, LibSwift Core, LibSwift Foundation, Bolts framework, etc. So there's a huge list of all the different frameworks which are being used. Core data, again, core data contains cache or temporary data. Okay, we haven't installed this application onto our iOS devices, and we have not run this particular application, so your cache or temporary data is not going to be present, right? So your cache data is not present, and that's the main reason core data folder has not been added up right now. Okay, once we run the application, it's going to be added. And then finally you have package.info, which is an alternate way to specify the types and creator codes. So it's basically gives an idea about the application. So here it has some information of the application. So that's it for this particular session, guys. The main idea was to introduce you to all the different folders, and one important file which we are always going to look around is called the info.plist file. We are going to learn about info.plist in the coming videos. So stay tuned and thank you.